Hi, it's Kathy from Bishop Stone Yarns, and this is episode 19 of the Bishop Stone Yarns podcast. And I would like to say welcome to everyone. If you're a returning viewer, hi, it's really great to see you again. And I'm so happy that you're here to join me with a bit of a chat about crafting and what I've been up to. If you're a new viewer, hi, welcome. I hope you enjoy your little bit of time here with me as I talk about my crafting. Now this is mainly a kind of a knitting and crafting podcast. Kind of start off with some knitting, then I usually kind of have a little bit of sewing, a bit of cross stitch, and some spinning, and any other kind of craft that might be taking my fancy at the time. So what I usually do is I usually do 1 week I do more knitting sewing kind of podcast, and the next week I do a spinning kind of podcast. But this isn't the more knitting podcast, and I'm coming to you from Tasmania, which is the little island at the bottom of Australia, and you find me in the corner of my studio. Today is June the 20th, Monday, June the 20th, and it's actually quite clear outside at the moment. Of course, we are in the middle of winter, heading up towards the solstice, and the weather here has been quite cold. And a few days ago, it's been incredibly misty and foggy where we are. We're kind of really close to the beach. And the other night it was so foggy here we couldn't see. There's a little island just out off the beach with a kind of at night time it has a red light to warn the boats. We couldn't even see that, and when we took our dog out for a little walk at night time, it was really hard to see. We couldn't see very far ahead of us. But today it is a lot calmer. We have a little bit of blue sky, there's some clouds, but I think it's going to be a little bit warmer for a couple of days, and then it's going to be really cold again. They have had huge amounts of snowfall here in Hobart, which is the capital of Tasmania. There's a large mountain, Kunyanyi, behind as a backdrop for the city, and they have had huge amounts of snow up on the mountains, kind of probably, I don't know, 2 people widths high. And they've had to clear the road, and even a few people have been rescued off the mountain, which is quite unusual. There's a road goes all the way to the top of the mountain, and a viewing shelter and things like that up there, but obviously there are a lot of tourists in town at the moment because Hobart in the middle of winter has a thing called Dark Mofo, which celebrates winter and has a lot of art installations, and it's really just to encourage people to go out and enjoy the nighttime and the winter. So I think there've been a lot of tourists down here, so maybe people who weren't quite aware of how the weather can change once you get up to the top of the mountain. But that's what the weather has been doing here. Not a lot happening in the garden, but it's been quite a busy week for me, kind of busy family-wise. So I feel like I haven't really had a chance to get as much done as I would have liked to in terms of knitting and sewing and things like that. I'll go ahead and I'll make the podcast and I'll let you in on what I've been up to. First of all, I'll start with what I'm wearing. This is one of my hand knitted cardigans. And this is made from the wool. This is 100% wool, and it's merino cross. This is made from the sheep that we used to have. So I've spun this, dyed this, and knitted this. If you want a little bit more information about it, I think it might be maybe in episode 3. anyway, go back and have a look, but I think it might be in episode 3. I think I go back and talk about this in a bit more detail back then and give you the pattern and everything like that. So this is a fantastic cardigan to be wearing at this time of the year because it's so nice and warm and it's nice and bright, and it's really good. What I have been wearing, for those people who saw, I think it was the last podcast, I was wearing this jumper here, this one here, which is a commercially spun and made alpaca jumper. But what I was wanting to show you was that I was wearing this yesterday, and because it is stranded work, so the color work in there, and so the inside of the jumper, I don't know if I can show you, but so you can see there are a lot of floats across the inside where they carry the yarn across from one color to the next. So that's the inside of the front of the jumper. Now I will show you what's happened to the inside of the back of the jumper. If you can see, we've had a little problem with the floats on the back here. They, some of them are really quite long, and so I have worn this jumper quite a lot, and it's only just happened, I noticed yesterday. So I'm just kind of guessing. I did have my phone in my pocket yesterday when I was out walking. So unless this is caught on my phone and the floats have caught, I'm not quite sure what else it would possibly catch on, because maybe if I can, because it's caught quite a lot. I'm not quite sure what else it could catch on, because apart from my jeans, there's not really much there for the jumper to actually catch on. But it is quite disappointing, and this is one of the reasons why when you knit stranded color work, it's important to catch your floats when you're knitting. So you usually knit, let me see if I can show you. So you can see that some of those floats, or where the yarn goes from one color to over the knitting to the next time it's used, sometimes it's only a few stitches, and then you're less likely to catch it on anything. But when you've got a longer float, like these ones here, so I think that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe about 8. I think that's a float. This float here was over about 8 stitches. So because it's a lot longer piece of yarn, of course, it's a lot easier to catch it on things. Even actually, I must admit, sometimes even when I was putting my hand into the jumper to put on, I would catch it. I know that there had been a lot of discussion about things like that with children's garments, like either booties or jumpers, because babies and young toddlers have such tiny little fingers. Their little fingers can go in and get caught in the floats quite easily. And I know there used to be a lot of booties that were knitted kind of in a slightly stranded way, and you had to be really careful that you didn't have any up round where the toes, like baby toes and toddler toes could be, because you didn't want, of course, their toes to get caught in amongst some of those floats. But what it has done, I don't know if this will pick up very well on this camera or not. I don't know if you can see, but it has actually pulled, yeah, it's probably not going to show up, but so in here it's pulled the jumper quite tight on the knitting. So what I'll have to do is go back through and kind of gently ease all of this back out. But I thought I'd just show you, it's just one of those things to keep in mind, especially when you're knitting and you're knitting colour work with floats at the back. It's always a good idea to I usually try and catch mine about every 3 stitches, so that there's only a very small loop of yarn at the back of your work. So this kind of is less likely to happen, and that your garment is less likely to get pulled like that is. So yeah, so I will have to, after this podcast, I'm going to have to sit down and have a go at straightening all of that out. Yes, there we go. That's nothing to do with my knitting, but it is kind of knitting related. So I forgot to tell you all where you can find me on the internet. So you can find me on Facebook as Bishopstone Yarns. You can find me on Instagram as Bishopstone Yarns, and you can also find me on Ravelry as Bishopstone. So you can pop over there and find me on all those areas. I also do have a blog as well called Bishopstone Yarns on Blogger, which I hadn't used for a while, but I have just started putting a few more posts up there, especially about my sewing and my quilt blocks that I've been doing. So if I feel inspired, I might continue. Hopefully I'll keep putting the quilt blocks up there, but I might also go around and add some more blog posts as well if people are interested in looking at those. So that's where you can find me, really, on the internet. I guess we should move on now to some finished objects, which I actually have some finished objects, which is good. So last time I was showing you, I was knitting a pair of socks that my mum had started before she got sick, and then I was now at a point where I felt like I could pick them back up and finish knitting them since my mum died. So these are the socks. I have finished them, and as you can tell, the socks are not identical in colour. They're the same. They came from the same ball of wool, the same colourway, but the actual socks themselves are not identical in matching colours. I could have, when I finished the first sock, I could have broken it off and then gone through to where I thought, it was the start of this, started with the same colourway through. But I actually wasn't quite sure where. I thought maybe, oops, here we go with this one. I had thought that maybe this colourway, as we were going through kind of like the green, the blue, orange, and then the brown, and then we went back into the orange, I was kind of thinking, and a blue, I thought we might have been going back up to a green and then kind of worked at just this would have repeated itself. But this is the, how did it go? Oh yes, would have gone this way. Okay, if this makes any sense. So this is the first sock, and then I got down here to the toe, to the blue, and I was thinking then that we would have some orange down here and continue on. But that's not the way that it worked out, which is okay. I mean, I'm quite happy to have socks that are not exactly the same, and for the majority of the time it's actually only just this top bit that you'll be seeing anyway. So it kind of starts off with a green, both start off with a green and then go down into one into a brown, one into a blue. But yeah, it was just a really interesting colorway in that way that I'm still not exactly sure where the repeat color is, whether or not this big brown bit here is going to be where the repeat starts again. I'm not sure. I just don't see exactly where the color repeat is going to be. It might be an incredibly long color repeat, and I have quite small feet, and so I would have wasted a lot of yarn trying to get to the next point where, to get matching socks. I would have ended up wasting a lot of yarn by pulling off from the ball to try and get back to exactly the same position where I started here. I do have a large amount of this yarn left. So I'm not sure whether I will go ahead and knit another pair of socks or whether or not I will keep this ball to make some sort of a smaller scarf or little shawlette type thing. But I think I'll probably just end up using it for another pair of socks. But maybe not quite at the moment. But they are finished. 2 pairs of socks. One started by my mum and finished by me. So that's where we're up to with those at the moment. Oh, pop those there. And the other finished objects, and the sock, I was just trying to see if I can find the label. I did talk about the yarn. I have put the yarn up and everything on Ravelry, and I did talk about it last time. So this is the sock yarn that I used, and it's in the colorway Pumpkin Patch. So that little color swatch at the top there is not the color that I'm knitting in. I'm knitting in Pumpkin Patch, which is much more of the autumny kind of colors. So it's a really nice yarn. It's really nice and soft. It's a single ply, and yeah, it's very nice. So the other finished things, I haven't finished any more knitting, but I have been working on, for those who've been watching before, I have been working on this cross stitch, and I have finished it. So there we go. That's my finished Santa piece. This is my I did a couple of pieces, one or two pieces while my mum was really unwell. There were smaller pieces of cross stitch that I did. It was something easy and portable that I could take with me while I was sitting with her while she was very unwell. And so that kind of inspired me to get back into cross stitch, because I hadn't done any cross stitch for many, many years. So this is my first kind of major piece, but a bigger piece that I finished. And I did change the colours of the sheep. I used a DMC in colours 414 and 968 for the sheep. In the pattern, the sheep is a lot darker, but I actually quite liked the lighter sheep. I think it kind of showed the sheep off a little bit better. Yeah, so I was very happy with that. And then I started this one, which is the Sweetheart Pocket by Blackbird Designs. And I actually have finished the let me see if I can possibly. So I've actually finished the 2 parts to that. So I finished the cross stitching parts. So this is a double part. So you've got a little pocket there for your scissors. So you've got a let me turn around to the right way. So you've got the pocket at the front, which is the big design, and then you've got a small design, which is the top of the heart at the back. So just come back through. So that's what I've finished here at the moment. Of course, it's not totally finished. I still have to cut this out and put it together. I've popped my initials and my birth date on there. So, yes, you can all work out how old I am from my birth year. And I just thought it'd be nice to have a little personalise it, as in terms of, when I was born as opposed to this year. So I'm quite happy with that. That was a pink. I originally had thought about taking the material and dyeing, if you can see here on the back, the this colour at the back is darker. I had thought about taking the material I was going to use for this darker bit and use the pink and dye it just with some coffee. But then I thought, no, I'll just leave it the same colour. And yeah, so yeah, I'm quite happy with that. But hopefully I can finish that off at the same time when I frame up the other cross stitch that I've been working on as well. Then, so they're all of my finishes, which I'm quite happy with. Even though the cross stitches aren't fully finished off items, they're still finished items. And then I have started knitting a pair of socks. So I'm kind of loosely following this pattern, which is from the Unapologetic Knitter, my favourite vanilla socks. And while I was in the theme of knitting socks, I knitted a pair for my husband. I've finished off the pair that my mum started. And then I thought, well, I've got so much sock yarn, I will knit myself another pair of socks as well, because I have quite a few pairs of hand knitted socks, but they're getting a bit old now, and a couple of them have lost kind of their colour. They've kind of gone through the washing machine. A couple of them have gone through the washing machine a few times and seem to have lost a bit of their colour. And so I thought it's about time that I kind of updated my hand knitted socks as well. So I have started with this yarn here, and just unwind it for a minute. So this is where I am up to. So this is going to be a top down, which isn't usually my way of knitting. I usually do knit 2 at a time, toe up. But these are the needles, 2mm bamboo needles that my mum was using to knit the previous pair of socks that I've just finished. So I thought, while I'm on the roll, while I've just done that, I'll knit another pair using the same needles and the same way. And so that's why I thought I would use the my favourite vanilla sock pattern. I quite like how this pattern uses the three stitches here on the edge, like the garter stitch on the edge of the heel flap, so it makes it so much easier to pick up your stitches on the heel flap. And so that's where I'm up to at the moment. I think I'm about ready to turn the heel, and then of course once I finish this sock I will have to start the second one, which is probably one of the reasons why I usually knit toe up 2 at a time, because you're working on both socks at the same time. I must admit, I did find when I started using this yarn, I did not use the first little bit of the yarn, this bit here, because it had a break in it. So I wound that off, and then I found there was another little bit of a break, and then I was getting a little concerned. I thought, oh my gosh, don't tell me that something like moths or something have got into this. But I think maybe this had been sitting around in my mum's stash as well for a bit, so maybe it had got caught on something. I haven't seen any evidence of moths or anything in it, so I'm hoping that those couple of breaks were just something that where it maybe got caught on something, or something had happened to it. And this wool is this one here, Jigsaw 4-ply in heirloom, and it's, I don't know, colorway 072. And so there's no pretty name or anything for it. And it's made in Italy. So yeah, so far so good. I'm quite liking the blue and the green for the socks. And yeah, kind of going along quite well, considering that toe top down and using 4 needles is not usually my preferred way of knitting socks. I'm still enjoying it as well. The other thing I've been working on a little bit this week when I went to my quilting group is I'm still working on my Hexie zipped purse, which seems to be taking me a long time to get this done, but I do a lot of talking at my quilt group, so maybe I'm not sewing as much as I should. But I take this along because it's something easy that I can take along and do while I'm there, as opposed to I find it a little bit difficult to cut out material while I'm talking to other people. I need to have a bit of quiet and time to just do that by myself at home. And so, I think I showed you before, that's the back that I have finished, and here's the front. So I am almost there. I've got a few pieces here, like these ones. I'll turn it around. So there's a few, I can almost get ready to start cutting some of these bigger hexagons, and hopefully then use those cut-off hexagons to kind of fit in along these little spots along here. But I am so close, and I guess it just seems a bit sad to have to use up a whole hexagon to put in all these little spots at the bottom. But well, that's how it's designed, so I will do that. But hopefully once I finish putting on this last hexagon over here, I'll cut the edge of that off and then see, because I'll have kind of almost half a hexagon there I can cut off and hopefully use that. I'll have a bit of a hexagon here, and then maybe I can reposition those as well into the front. So that's where I'm up to with that. I have not got any, I must admit, I have not got any of my quilt blocks done this time round. What's my excuse? Well, I could make a couple of excuses. I have had quite a busy family time the last couple of weeks, and it has been incredibly cold. I don't sew in my studio. I have another area that I sew in, which has a big table in it. And it has been so cold, and there is no heater out in that room, that I just haven't been inspired to actually go out into that area and do any cutting and sewing since it's been so cold recently. I mean, I don't mind if there's a bit of sun out. I could have taken a heater in there, but it's just been really, really, really cold in that area. So I haven't really been inspired to go out there at all and do anything. So that is where I'm up to with that. And since I had finished my other cross-stitching pieces, I thought I would make a little start on Sweet Pea, which is a little formed rabbit doll in cross-stitch. This is by La Di Da. And so, and if you want to know the linens I've been using for the cross stitches and that, I have talked about them before in a previous episode, so you can always go back and have a look at it there. So this is a 32 count linen. I think this one, I don't remember what it was called, but yeah, like I said, it was in one of the previous episodes, and if I can find the name of it, I'll pop it in the show notes. So I'm just starting with the outline of this bunny. What I have also done with this pattern is, I just show you the pattern, I have basically chosen my own colours for the entire rabbit. And these are the colours that I'm going to be going with. So these are ones that I already have. And there's the light blue that I've been using for the outside of the bunny rabbit. And I can go through the other colours with you. So these are all DMCs. So this one is 968. I've got this one which is 3828. And we've got 879. And then these are anchor colours. And the green is 3364. And this one is another anchor one, and anchor pink, and it is 895. And then we have this mystery blue, which had no tag or anything on it, so I don't know what the number of that one is. So they are the colours that I've chosen for my sweet pea. Quite looking forward to doing that. I can take a little bit more time with this one, considering I've finished the other two and I still have to sew the other two cross-stitch pieces up. And I've got some knitting underway and some spinning underway as well. I thought sweet pea can be a bit of a slower project. I think that I might just work on that a little bit here and there, as opposed to spending hours and hours on the sweet pea. Because as I was saying, I have still been doing my spinning. So this is my wool and alpaca mix that I am mixing up and spinning up. And hopefully at the end of this project, I will knit the Birkin by Caitlin Hunter out of this. I have to wait and see how the yarn turns out, and also whether I decide to dye it or not dye it. So a lot of decisions, but I talk about that more on my spinning podcast, which will be out next week. And if you want to go back and have a look at some of the sit and spin episodes, I talk about my spinning more on those. So that's what I've been up to. And the other thing I have done is what have I bought? What have I bought? Well, I must say I went to the op shop the other day. I was actually looking for some dog blankets, but of course I came away with craft things. So I had found these two cones. I'm not exactly sure how much is left on them. These are Bendigo Woolen Mills 100% wool. They were only $2 each. So I thought there's enough on here that I can reskein these up and dye these. It doesn't actually say in here exactly what ply they are, but I don't know. I think this one looks very much like a 2-ply to me. This one it looks a little bit thicker, but it's hard to tell. But I will work that out and do a bit of a swatch to work out exactly what they are. Oh, that's not looking too good, is it? It's kind of blowing out quite a bit there. So I had bought those two, but the big thing that I found was I found a big huge bag of DMCs and other embroidery threads, which I have divided up. So I'll just show you. So these are the DMCs. So these all came in a plastic bag together. So I divided up. These were the, sorry, these are not the DMCs. These, these are the anchor colours and other random ones. So I've put all of those into this box. Then also in the same bag, and I divide these up. These are all the DMCs, colours that were in there. And then the rest of it was some obscure colours there. There's a little bit, only a very little bit of linen there, and a tablecloth. Sorry about the crinkling of the plastic. There was a tablecloth which has been started in embroidery, and then there's another design on the other side through as well. So that was in there as well. So I could finish that off as well. Now I'm starting to feel a little bit like from Arne and Carlos, who goes around to the op shops getting all the half finished or barely started pieces of tapestry and cross stitch that he comes across and then finishes them off. He does, he's had ones with cats and different motifs, and then he adds interesting patterns in the background. I have come across a few of those bigger cross-stitchy pieces, but I came across one the other day that was in horses, and I was just like, not going down that path. And does such a great idea of, adding, finishing them off and adding his patterns and everything to them. And I suggest, if you're interested in that kind of thing, go and check out Arne and Carlos's podcast, because where he talks about the cross stitches and how he finishes them off. But I don't have that much time. I have enough trouble just finishing things that I'm doing at the moment than starting on something kind of slightly different. And since I already have another cushion cross stitch that I'm supposed to be working on at the same time as well, which I haven't actually even picked up yet, I think I'm okay. I think I will just leave them where they are and continue working on what I'm doing. So what will I be doing? I'll be doing some more on my sweet pea and doing lots of spinning. For those people who are spinners or on Ravelry, Tour de Fleece is coming up on the 1st of July. So I will be hopefully joining in Tour de Fleece this year, and hopefully getting as much of my wool alpaca blend done and spun up as I can over that time. So then hopefully I can start knitting the Caitlin Hunter. So the other thing I need to do is, once I finish these socks, I need to find something else to start knitting on. So I have been looking around for a really nice kind of blanket pattern, a way to use up a lot of my leftover yarns. Now I was hoping and thinking about doing Triangulum from Craft House Magic podcast, which I really like her design for her blanket, but I'm not sure whether it lends itself to the yarn the bits and pieces of yarn that I'll be using. So I'll just wait and see. I'll see how it works out and what I end up using. But yes, I'll keep looking. I have been looking at some crocheted blankets as well, so some of the patterns for that. I have done a granny square crochet blanket, but then I was thinking I would like to do another one, but then I just want something that I can use up all my scraps and just start working on as a long-term project. But I'll get back to you about that. I'll let you know what I decide or what I can find to use for that. And yep, that's it really for my bit of a slow week in terms of crafting, but I have been having fun, and I've been having fun going out with my family and enjoying the weather. even though it has been cold, it has been incredibly beautiful. The sea has been very rough. There have been a lot of warnings out for people not to go into the ocean because it's been so rough. There's been a lot of kind of kelp thrown up on the beaches, and the other day we were down there and there was basically trying to take the dog for a walk on the beach and there was no beach left at all. So much so that we even got caught in a wave, a very small wave that came up and caught us because we couldn't get off the beach, up the bank, the sand dune quick enough. Yeah, but it's been a nice time of year. It is still a nice time of year. I hope everyone else is enjoying either the winter if you're in the southern hemisphere or enjoying the summer in the northern hemisphere. I know that some people have been having it very, very hot summer in the northern hemisphere. So wherever you are, I hope that you're enjoying your time and enjoying your crafting as well. So I'd like to say thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed your time with me, and if you've liked this podcast, then click on the like button, and if you're not subscribed, then subscribe, because that kind of helps me out in this little area of the YouTubes and helps other people find this video as well. And as always, I'm more than happy for people to leave comments. I love to read people's comments and hear what they're doing or what they're making. And yeah, until next time, bye.